The rise of an invisible war in the modern world. Wars are no longer fought only with tanks and missiles. Some of the most powerful battles happen quietly through electricity grids, gas pipelines, and energy policies. This is the story of one such invisible war, a war that reshaped Europe's economy, shifted financial power, and revealed how one country prepared for the future, while another underestimated the cost of energy dependence. This is the story of France and Germany. For decades, Germany was seen as the economic engine of Europe. Its factories powered global industries, its exports dominated markets, and its reputation for efficiency was unmatched. France, on the other hand, often appeared slower, more bureaucratic, and less aggressive in industrial expansion. But beneath the surface, something very different was happening. The foundation of power. Energy is not just electricity. Energy is control. Determines how expensive it is to manufacture goods, how stable an economy remains during crisis, and how much leverage a nation holds on the global stage. France understood this early. In the 1970s, after the oil crisis shook the world, France made a bold decision. Instead of relying heavily on imported fossil fuels, it invested massively in nuclear energy. This decision was controversial, expensive, and politically risky, but it was long-term. Germany took a different path. Germany relied on cheap imported gas, especially from Russia. For years, this strategy worked perfectly. Gas was affordable, industries thrived, and German manufacturing became one of the most competitive in the world. But dependency always comes with a hidden cost. The illusion of cheap energy. Cheap energy creates comfort. Comfort creates dependence. Germany's industries became deeply tied to low-cost gas. Steel plants, chemical factories, automobile manufacturers, all of them were built around the assumption that energy would always remain cheap and available. France, meanwhile, quietly built stability. By the early 2000s, over 70% of France's electricity came from nuclear power. This meant predictable prices, domestic control, and energy independence. While other countries debated renewable transitions, France already had a stable base. Germany decided to shut down its nuclear plants. The decision was driven by public fear, political pressure, and environmental movements. Nuclear energy was labeled dangerous. The future, Germany believed, was renewable energy combined with gas as a backup. This choice would later prove costly. When crisis arrives, every system looks perfect until it is tested. When geopolitical tensions rose and energy supply chains were disrupted, Europe faced one of its biggest energy crises in modern history. Gas prices exploded, electricity costs surged. Factories slowed down, some shut completely. Germany was hit first and hardest. Industries that once thrived on cheap gas now faced unbearable costs. Companies moved production abroad. Workers lost jobs. Inflation surged. The government had to spend billions just to keep the system alive. France felt the shock too, but it was different. Because most of France's electricity came from nuclear plants, price increases were limited. Households were protected. Industries remained operational. While others panicked, France stayed relatively calm. This is where the invisible war became visible. Financial consequences, energy prices directly affect inflation, currency, strength, and investment confidence. Germany's rising energy costs weakened its competitiveness. Investors became cautious. Government debt increased as subsidies expanded. France, meanwhile, gained a silent advantage. Lower electricity prices attracted businesses. Data centers, factories, and industrial projects increasingly considered France a safer option. Energy stability became a financial weapon. France did not need to announce victory. The numbers spoke for themselves. The strategic difference: Germany focused on short-term efficiency, France focused on long-term security. Germany trusted the global market. France trusted national infrastructure. This difference in mindset defined the outcome. By the time Germany realized the risk of dependence, rebuilding nuclear capacity was no longer simple. Plants had been closed. Expertise had faded. Public trust was damaged. France, meanwhile, doubled down. The lesson of Chapter 1: Energy is not just an environmental issue. It is a financial, political, and strategic decision. France did not win because it was perfect. It won because it planned for instability. Germany did not lose because it was careless. It lost because it assumed stability would last forever. And in a world where crises are becoming normal, assumptions are expensive. The invisible energy war had entered its next phase, the future of power and the price of decisions. The energy war did not end with the crisis. In many ways, it only began there. As Europe looked toward the future, the contrast between France and Germany became even clearer. One was defending stability. The other was trying to rebuild trust with investors, industries, and its own people. Rebuilding versus reinforcing Germany faced a difficult reality. Rebuilding energy infrastructure takes time. Renewable energy is essential, but it requires storage, grid upgrades, and massive investment. Without nuclear or cheap gas, Germany found itself paying some of the highest electricity prices in Europe. France, meanwhile, focused on reinforcing what it already had. It invested in modernizing nuclear plants, improving safety, and expanding next-generation reactors. At the same time, it added renewables, not as replacements, but as supplements. This balance gave France flexibility. Economic gravity shifts. Energy cost is one of the most important factors for industry location. As German energy prices stayed high, companies quietly shifted operations. Some moved to France. Others left Europe entirely. This created a domino effect. Fewer factories meant fewer jobs. Fewer jobs reduced tax income. Governments had to borrow more. Debt increased financial pressure. France experienced the opposite trend. Stable energy prices attracted long-term investment. While not immune to global challenges, France became more predictable, and predictability is valuable in finance. The political dimension: energy decisions are never purely technical. Germany's leadership faced growing criticism. Citizens questioned why nuclear plants were closed while coal plants were reopened. Trust weakened. France used energy as a diplomatic tool. By exporting electricity to neighboring countries, France gained influence. Energy became part of foreign policy. Power grids became leverage. The energy war was no longer invisible.